So thank you so much for listening to Blue Sky Horse Radio. My name is Yenny. This is at CKMS 102.7 FM, Radio Waterloo. You can find us online at Radiowaterloo.ca. We're a non-profit organization radio station, and we're here to make your day better. And with me right now from Australia, which is so amazing because I always wanted my show to be international, and here we go. Kindred Surprize is with us. Thank you so much, Kindred, for coming on the show.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome as well. So would you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Look, some people may refer to me as a drag queen here in Melbourne, Australia, but I rather refer to myself as a queen that's being dragged around. But my name is Kindred, like the spirit, and I've been working and performing here in Australia for about the last 15, 16 years.
Wow, that's amazing. So what is Kindred Surprize all about?
I guess, look, I chose to use my art as a platform to be an advocate essentially for human beings, all human beings. I guess I've always had to grow up identifying as somebody being homosexual, and I kind of had a realization that I was actually a homo sapien, which is the scientific term for human,
right.
And I was no different to anyone else. So I kind of created this platform, which is now turning into a human rights movement, I guess, where we actually fight for the rights of all humans. And more recently, I've kind of extended that to the animals.
Thank you. That's really amazing. Yeah, we are all one. We are all human, sharing the spirit. So I've been watching some of your videos that you have uploaded to YouTube, and I gotta say you're amazing. Thank you for your awesomeness.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So how did you become aware of the horrors of Australian horse racing?
Look, if I'm going to be entirely honest, when I was growing up as a child, I often frequented the racetracks. I wasn't driving, I wasn't even working to pay for petrol. I think I was still at school. That was just something our family did on the odd occasion. I guess at that point, I didn't really understand a lot. For me, it just seemed to be a lot about alcohol and money. I didn't really look at it from the perspective of the animals, but it still kind of didn't sit right with me because it was just something that was so, I don't know, it just wasn't like it looks nice, that they carried on really ugly, so to speak. But I guess as I got older, I started to, it's like anything, until you start to educate yourself or information comes out and you start to actually realize what's happening, you kind of are a little bit blindsided, or you just think, that's what the horse is like, of course. But yeah, I guess it was like when reports started coming out about how horses would be either shot directly after a race or died during a race, that I started to question what's actually going on and how are we actually looking after these horses. Right.
Yeah, it's not all fancy hats, and especially not for the horses. So what is your own outlook on this at this point?
Oh, look, I'm absolutely mortified. Like, I'm just so... it actually makes me quite a little bit emotional, because it's actually quite devastating what's happening to these animals.
Yeah.
As you said, it's definitely not fancy hats. I mean, the interesting thing is I actually know some people who grew up on... who grew up where they had horses on their farm, and they used to ride them and things like that. And they've tried to shift my perspective that I have now in trying to say, there are people that care about these horses, and I'm sure there are. But and some people say to me, horses want to run. That's what they love to do. It's kind of really interesting when people say that. I'm kind of like, how do you know? Are you the horse? Like, if a horse wants to run, why can't it just run in the field? Why do we have to be on it, whipping it? I don't know that the horse is going, I'm having the time of my life. But yeah, look, I'm just absolutely devastated. And look, I think I would like to believe that there are good people out there. Even when I look at, dairy farming and all those other things that kind of disturb me a lot as well. Yeah. I still like to think there are good people out there that have maybe grown up in the industry, but I think it's time that we start to shift, as a collective.
Right. That's for sure. And I mean, it's interesting for us here living in Canada and being on social media, we've seen the amount of information that has come out in the last few weeks regarding the exposés, I suppose, regarding racehorses in Australia going to slaughter. Lots of information is going around on the internet about this right now. It seems like a lot of people in Australia are outraged that horses are being sent to slaughter after horse racing.
Yeah.
So in Canada, right, it's kind of a backside or the dirty underbelly in a way. So we're appreciating all of these efforts we're seeing, and hence leading to my next question. Do you think that these issues about horse racing are worldwide, and has Australia taken the lead in exposing the ugly side of racing?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, the industry is it's so motivated by money. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, money is the root of all evil anyway. Mm-hmm. And, when people are so motivated or have such a large, prize to win in terms of millions and, just ridiculous amounts of money, of course. I mean, I knew the documentary had come out here in Australia most recently, which is called Racing Kills on the ABC, and it was 49 minutes of my life that will impact me for the rest of my life. And I was trying to avoid it as much as possible, but as it's like anything, if you don't educate yourself, then you don't become well informed, you can't make good decisions. Yeah. Being ignorant is kind of nice sometimes in life because it's kind of scary when you learn about the truth. But I think that it's really important to understand what's going on, and once you see what's going on there, for sure, 100%, this is not just something that's isolated to Australia. We've just got people uncovering things here, which hopefully has a ripple effect that uncovers things elsewhere. Right.
For sure. I know, living here in Canada and knowing that Canada slaughters horses for human consumption, and we even ship horses in crates to places like Japan where they consider it a delicacy to eat fresh horse meat. So we're shipping horses in crates via cargo planes, animal rights advocates obviously are having a problem with this, and so we're doing everything that we can to bring awareness, because a lot of people think that we should be gentle to horses and we should treat them well. Another thing that is a question of here is what are your thoughts on Animal Justice Party MP Andy Meddick's comments that the industry needed to take greater action in overbreeding of horses?
Yeah, I find it. Well, again, after watching the documentary, I guess there was a part in there that said that we've entered a really dangerous cycle where we kind of breed and then we work the horse and then we discard or they become wastage, and it's just the amount of breeding that's going on because they're trying to find a perfect racehorse that's going to make them that $1 million or. Then I guess to answer this question, I think everything, like if you're overbreeding anything for a particular objective, that there's potential issues with that. I don't know enough about this, but I would say that definitely when I look at the extreme numbers that I was seeing, here in Australia, the Racing Australia or Racing New South Wales, one of the two, stated that there's a small percentage of horses that become wastage, like 1%, which equates to something like 43 or around 40 a year, when in one abattoir alone there was 5,000.
Yeah.
That's one abattoir. So they were highlighting that, that we've got such an excess of these horses that, so I guess really having a look at how that problem is eventuating. I think, when I liken it to things like, obviously, the dairy industry, then where, they're obviously producing a lot of calves so that they can continue to produce milk. I guess it's similar to that. I mean, if you're overbreeding for a purpose other than its natural state of being, then I feel that's a problem.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts on this statement? That veterinarians will be sent to Victorian farms to euthanize retired racehorses to save them from being killed in abattoirs, knackeries, as part of the racing industry's response to ABC's investigation that exposed cruel treatment of thoroughbreds.
I think that doesn't sit really well with me. I guess euthanasia, I mean, even when you look talking about people, which fortunately we're starting to introduce some good bills here where people can have assisted dying methods for themselves as humans, I think is not necessarily a bad thing when something's suffering, but not as an option to kind of control what's happening. I mean, because it's not really going to address the systemic issue that's going on. It's not going to stop overbreeding. It just means that they're offering a solution,
right?
That they feel is satisfactory, which obviously it's not.
No, and you're so on the target too when you're talking about the breeding for perfection, because how many foals have to be born in order to, create this one perfect, hopefully, racehorse? So many are discarded, and it doesn't make any sense to have that kind of thinking. So probably a lot of different ways that the solution needs to be kind of looked at from many different ways. But I agree with you. Oh, well, we understand that you are hosting an event regarding the Melbourne Cup as well. Would you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, look, I'm kind of assisting with the actual event. A lovely dear friend of mine, Neil, or Ten Fingers, as their event production company is called, is running it with the Coalition Against Horse Racing Australia. It's in its 6th year, so it's kind of in its infancy, but over the years it has really started to gain a lot of momentum with this event looking like it could actually get up around, we've got over 1,000 people that are interested in going or attending. And if you look at the numbers compared to a couple of years ago, I guess, where it was around 300 to 400, we can see that momentum is continuing to grow. I obviously I got more engaged in the sense that I wanted to do more this year. And so I kind of actively have been assisting in helping organise some of the performers and, just getting the word out.
Fantastic. And this is Fashuns on the field, Melbourne at the Melbourne Cup protest?
Yeah, that's correct. So, Fashuns.
Right on.
Fashuns, Fashuns on the field, which is the Melbourne Cup protest.
Nice.
And it's actually right outside the track. Like, it's it's a little bit, it's one of those things, it's kind of like that the Cup is such an ugly thing here, and so many people feel that now, and to be so close to it, it's kind of really interesting, because the first time that I actually went down and I performed there, you kind of feel so empowered to be there, kind of sending a clear message, and then right over the gate, that the very thing that you're opposing is just there.
Yeah.
And there's so many people, and, they're all dressed just fancy, and the interesting thing is a lot of them are like what I I was when I was that child. Like, they're walking into something that they don't even know enough about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a lot of people, they're heading in because, you know, they've got some new drug that they're going to take with all their friends. You know, it's ridiculous. And I say that because I just imagine them all lining up in the toilets having lunch. And I like to say that on Canadian radio.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what they're doing, and vomiting up in the, you know, in the portaloos, and like, really, it's gross. I mean, they don't even have. I saw a meme recently. They don't even have sniffer dogs and, you know, strip searches like they do at festivals where we go to kind of, you know, dance and meet people and have workshops so that we can evolve as spiritual beings. They don't have any of that at this place because, of course, this is about money.
That's very interesting. It is so. I know some people in Australia too. Pardon?
Oh, do you?
Yes, of course. Of course, like over the years
of course
traveling.
You do. I know you know one.
Yeah, right. Of course, yeah, who introduced us. It's amazing. Thank you, Miss Catalina. Like, that was Kat LaBelle. Yeah, I love her. Yeah, when I traveled, I met lots of people from Australia, and I know one person in particular. I've watched her because I'm friends with her on Facebook, and I know that she does go to horse races, and I know that she knows that I'm an equine advocate. So I'm going to actually message her after this and let her know about our interview. But So will there be presenters at your event?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have done a call out to some of the local politicians to see if they want to come. At the moment, no one. There's a couple that are still considering it. I guess I really hope that we get somebody that, you know, obviously is in a position of, I mean, somebody that people have elected, because obviously it's something that people are interested in or very, you know, there's a shift. I mean, you can see it. It's happening.
Yeah.
You can see that with businesses in Melbourne. You can see it at some workplaces now refusing to celebrate it. You know, so it'd be nice to see somebody that people have elected to actually start listening to people and maybe coming. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of, we've got some amazing, as you said, Miss Catalina, we've got, I assisted with getting the judges. So at these Fashuns on the field, we actually have human races. So we're trying to show that there's an alternative, that you can still get dressed up, have a good time. We just don't need to involve animals in a cruel way. So, you know, it's a picnic. It's a cruelty-free picnic. People bring their dogs. It's really lovely. And, yeah, we have guest judges, and that will judge the human races. So it's not really about who finishes first. It's about who races the most fabulous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was able to, I wanted to get a really good eclectic mix. So we've got, you know, ethical fashion designers. We've got a stylist who's really big on ending fast fashion and looking at recycled fashion methods. And then I've got some wonderful, beautiful transgender advocates. And again, I'm just trying to ensure that, you know, the way we're presenting or representing ourselves in those environments is still very diverse and reflective as Homo sapiens, the people, and the different diversities and beautiful ways that we present ourselves all exist.
I love that. That's awesome. It's very much needed. And you're right, the world is shifting and people are more open now and paying attention to the injustice that happens to a lot of beings and a lot of us. So fabulous. And what about Homo sapiens, the group that you are with? We didn't touch on that.
Yeah, I guess. So the Homo sapiens. I mean, I'm the only, I believe, although according to the Australian Federal Police, which I did have a contact in at one point in time, I'm the only drag queen in Australia, at least, or queen that's been dragged around, to have flown to the Prime Minister's house, but then Mr. Tony Abbott, who's terrible Prime Minister, but anyway, so that's beside the point. To send a clear message that, you know, it was no longer homosexuals that were coming to war rising. It was now Homo sapiens. It was the human race. So to look out. Really interestingly, after I did attempt to get into the lodge in Canberra, he actually was no longer the Prime Minister 6 days later. So word around town is that I had something to do with that, although, yeah, probably not. But
hey, you never know. You can take some credit.
I know, right? My mother went, whoa, we've got a drag queen at the door. You got to get out. You got to get out. But yeah, look, the momentum's grown. We have, you know, lots of fabulous people that are very closely involved in building it. It's something that we want to continue to grow and look at making a not-for-profit organisation where we can be a support network for people. You know, everyone always has to identify with the label, like, you know, you're a refugee, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you're that, you're female, you know, all these labels, which essentially start to marginalise us and make us a minority. So we kind of want to be a platform where we're all the same, whilst we, you know, our uniqueness obviously makes us beautiful and interesting, and obviously we do have things that that we like to identify as, but collectively we're human beings. We're all entitled to human rights. So
exactly.
It's really kind of good on building on that.
Yeah. No, it's true. Love is love, and you know what? Good people, you know, there's so much trouble, obviously, in the world that we need to come together with our hearts first, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I hear.
So how can people contact you if they want to join you regarding the Melbourne Cup protest?
Yeah, sure. I guess there's an event on Facebook. It's Fashuns on the field, which is, I'm sure, maybe you can pop a link on your web page or something like that. Yep. That'd be great. But you know, also the coalition against racehorses in Australia, they'll be able to find information there. Also, I mean, Kindred Surprize with a Z, like Liza, is another way that you can get some information about that or anything in regard to Homo sapiens moving forward. I guess something that I want to be more conscious of, and I think it's really important for all people, is we shouldn't just be waiting for these events to kind of get up and do something. And that's something that I've been guilty of myself. After watching that documentary that I avoided for a long time, for obvious reasons, I'm quite empathetic. So seeing things like that actually do affect me, even in terms of, you know, being able to sleep and stuff like that. Like once,
oh my goodness.
There's a saying, you know, once you learn something, you can't unlearn it.
Yeah.
So I try to learn things, but I'm also aware that once I know it, it's going to be there. But I feel like we could do more on an ongoing basis, and I think that's a really important message. I think, you know, and sometimes people are like, oh, you know, you're such a hypocrite, you do this, you do that. You know, not just myself, but in general. Yeah. And then, you know, what are you doing every day? But I guess even if somebody only does something once a year, it's still doing something. I mean, I don't think people should be discouraged, but I do encourage people to kind of actively think about what they could do more of. Yeah,
I agree with you. I'm curious too about this ABC. Like, is there a way to watch that if you don't live in Australia?
Well, look, I don't know. I mean, it aired on television a couple of weeks ago here in Australia, and
okay.
It's actually there is. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you?
It's very, very disturbing.
Yeah.
Very disturbing.
Well, that's how I became a radio show host, because I learned about the horse slaughter horrors here in Canada, and I wanted to help be a voice because I felt like I had to do something as well. And, you know, here pregnant horses go to slaughter and foals go to slaughter. So, I mean, it's so beyond the unthinkable, but we have to have the courage to, you know, bear witness, and so we can help make changes.
Yeah.
What are you hoping that the outcome will be from your event?
Look, so the first time that I went, when people started to exit the Melbourne Cup, I did have a couple of drinks, I've got to be honest, and I was quite, I think I was a little bit, I don't know, in people's faces. I was kind of screaming, murderers, got a bit carried away. It was the first time I was there. I got quite passionate, and I remember quite specifically that people from the coalition had approached me and said, look, that's not the way we want to approach this. Like, we don't want to be making people feel that's not the approach we want. We want to be able to stand here, so we hold a lot of signs, there's a lot of imagery, and they said the objective is really that maybe next year this person won't come back, this person won't support it. Maybe they're going to go home, they're going to think about us. Maybe when they see or learn things that are coming out in the media, they'll start to join the dots and start to think about what they're actually doing. And it was really interesting because when I did kind of shut up and kind of stand there still holding, some images and looking at some people that were leaving the cup actually came up and had a chat and said that they felt that they're really sorry. Like, they felt really ashamed of what they had just done. And I guess the message was, well, it's, you can't change what you just did, but you can change what you're about to do.
Right.
And I think that that's a really important message. I think, and I learned something as well, I think it's like anything, if you start attacking people and saying this is what you got to do, you can't do this, people are less inclined to, people need to make that decision, it's not something that, I'm a bit like that, you tell me what to do and I'm pretty stubborn, I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
So, but I do like to make informed decisions for myself, and then it's just when I learn something I get so angry. I think I even get angry at myself, and then I start to project that onto other people, but it's not obviously doing necessarily a good thing. So I think the outcome really is is exactly that, is perhaps getting people to think about what they've done, but more importantly think about what they can do.
Yeah, that's excellent. You're so right too, because sometimes it's so hard as well to watch horrific situations, and we want it to stop, and so we think that our outrage is justified, and like this machine has taken a long time to put together, so we have to little by little remove all the parts that made it happen in a way. So it is very difficult to keep your calm, and I see it online all the time, obviously you do too, like with people getting very angry on the screen, and getting personally attacked is not really the right way to go. But when something is right, it's right. Sometimes it just seems so obvious. It's like, do we really want to send horses to slaughter after they made hundreds of thousands of dollars for their owners? I mean, there's so many things that horses are really good at doing too. For example, all of these, therapeutic and ways that horses are used to help people, for example, overcome mental health issues. That's something that I am definitely a huge advocate of, right? Like, what can we do with these horses? Well, what about community stables for people from the cities, where you have inner city kids come out and spend time at stables? Like, that's therapy, just being around horses, and as opposed to pharmaceuticals and things like that doesn't really fix the problem. Horses can help you learn some new skills and coping mechanisms. So I'm a huge advocate for horses and mental health. It's become a very big passion for me, because in my life I know my horses have saved my childhood, for example. So
wow, that's beautiful. And yeah, look, they're just such beautiful animals. I mean, but all the beings and the creatures on this planet are all significantly beautiful.
Yeah. And
we as human beings have responsibility not only for ourselves but for all the living things. Oh, sorry, I get a little bit emotional because just not only animals, it's going as far as the environment. It's time for us to really kind of
Yeah.
Stand up and do something. Take responsibility. Like, you know, what are we doing? Enough's enough. You know, I guess for me, I'm just so what is it? I'm so optimistic that we have such a strong generation of people coming up. I really feel that. You know, you see that with the climate change. Extinction Rebellion, etc. You just feel that you've got people are learning things now. Truth is coming out. It's coming out around politics, around everything.
Yeah.
And I just hope that. Well, I not hope, but I think I like to think positively. I like to pretend it's already happening, and I know it's happening. I can feel it. It's happening. You know, I call them levels, not years old, because now that I'm over level 40, I kind of roll like that. So, you know, as you move up levels in life,
Nice.
I feel that, you know, people that are leveled up a bit higher, sometimes it's harder to shift those people because they've grown up in a world where it's been they've been indoctrinated, saying that this is how it is. You know, I speak to people, they're like, why are you protesting against the horse race? Why? It's such a great day. I'm like, oh God, you know, what news are you watching? Where have you been?
Yeah. It's so true too. Like, it's kind of like there's a huge I guess like a dichotomy or something like that, where some people haven't yet maybe had to face even discrimination or a hard time, because I just wonder, like, how can, I mean, we live in a city here that is growing at the seams, and lots of development, lots of progress, but not everybody can keep up with the progress, right? You have more people living on the streets, you have more people suffering from mental health issues. So, you know, you have to think about everyone. It's really glorious that, you know, some people are making lots of money, fantastic. But I mean, you have to take some of that money and put it back into the community from whence it came, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So what would you like to see happen to keep the awareness going?
I think, you know, people, well, what I'd like to see is truth, more of the truth coming out. I'd like to see people, as I said before, not only kind of standing up and doing something about it when there's a major event, but being more actively involved in lobbying, people in politics, finding other ways, you know, standing up, speaking out, becoming less complacent, getting off social media and actually connecting socially in a way that promotes or does directly influence social change and change in behaviours in the way that we've been doing things. But and people asking more questions. I think that's the thing. I think sometimes people just think, oh, well, that's just the way it is. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be, and why is it that way? And what is it we don't know? I think that's the scariest part. It's like, you know, and I think a lot of people are afraid to know the truth because, as I said before, once you learn something, you can't unlearn it, you know, and so some people just prefer the ignorance. And I can get that because it's, you know, once you learn things, it's difficult to stomach sometimes. But, you know, we have, as I said before, we have a responsibility. So we need to kind of look at that, and we need to understand that, and we need to be actively doing something about that every day.
Thank you. I like that. Do you have any parting words for our listeners?
Look, I think, you know, something I had to learn early on was, you know, not to kind of, it's okay if you've been to the races. It's okay, you know. Like a lot of people, you know, it's like I'm a big advocate for Indigenous rights here in Australia. Something that Australia's got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
But, you know, I'm really big on that. And just in saying that, actually, we have a fabulous Indigenous performer, Royston, performing at Fashuns, and also an Indigenous DJ, which was something I really wanted to ensure that, again, we were representing the true diverse group of people, but also paying respect to people that were the First Nations people. But I guess I want people to kind of, like, as I said before, don't necessarily beat yourself up for what you've done. Just think about now what you can do. Like, it's okay. You know, it's okay. It's like, you know, you know, with veganism, my father was a butcher, and when I became a vegan, I was so angry. I was so angry at myself, and then I projected that anger onto other people, and I learned then that wasn't really supporting what I really wanted to do, which was allowing people to kind of, it's okay, it's alright if you've done things that you feel you maybe shouldn't have, but, you know, take some responsibility now of what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, love each other and love each other and the things around us. Ultimately, that's it.
Yeah, I so hear you. And I mean, the fact that we're even having this conversation is because I really fell in love with Miss Catalina, right, on Instagram, where I was like, I could just feel her love. And I was like, I just want to tap into some of that and make sure I stay in touch with this person because I could just feel her life energy, you know? So, and here we are a few years later, and she's the one who's connecting me to you. So, I mean, if that's not the universe talking or, you know, showing us the way, do you know what I mean? Like, I can just, people are, right?
Yeah, and it was all the loves that got me linked to her too, and I know personally that she loves you dearly as well.
Sweet. So it's all good. Well, Kindred, thank you so much for coming on Blue Sky Horse Radio. I love that we're having this conversation between Australia and Canada. And we're going to have a follow-up come next week. So we're actually going to do 2 specials on Blue Sky Horse Radio regarding the Melbourne Cup and the protests. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, it's been great.
Thanks, Yanni.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. And hi, Canada. Keep looking after yourself.
Sweet.